Hello everybody, thank you for joining us on today's webinar. Today we're going to cover some tips and tricks within InduSoft Web Studio. My name is Scott Courtier, and before we get started, just to make sure that I haven't accidentally muted myself, if I could get an audio confirmation from our team in Austin, let's see, or anybody for that matter in the Q&A panel or the chat panel. All right, we're good to go. Thank you for joining, everybody. Again, my name is Scott Courtier. I'm Senior Technical Sales with InduSoft. And today we're going to be covering some tips and tricks, some things that we think will make your development a little bit easier, maybe your run times look a little bit flashier, your projects look a little bit flashier without a whole lot of effort. And we're going to be covering a lot of different things today. In fact, there's a chance we'll go over just about 4 or 5 minutes, or maybe a little bit longer than that as we get going. For those of you who have not joined us before, the WebEx, the way that this WebEx works is we can't hear you. We can't turn on your microphone, so if you have a question or a comment, please feel free to put that into the chat panel or the Q&A panel within the WebEx interface, and I'll try to answer those that I can. I would like to forewarn you, though, that this is meant to be a tips and tricks, and I kind of have most everything laid out. I'm happy to answer comments and or questions during the WebEx if I can, but this is not going to be a stump the expert. I reserve that for when Fabio is presenting. I can answer a few things, but this again is going to be more of a tips and tricks. So let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to bring InduSoft Web Studio into view here, and I've already started a project earlier today that's called Tips and Tricks Webinar Afternoon, but basically it's a brand new project, it's empty, and I'm going to go ahead and insert a new screen here. So let's quickly jump back to the PowerPoint presentation and let's see, what are we going to do here? We're going to modify the quick access toolbar. It's kind of like a shortcuts menu. We're going to use tag properties to access bits. We're going to do a whole bunch of graphical stuff. We're going to talk about symbols and then show you some web resources that we have. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's modify the quick access toolbar. If I go back into InduSoft Web Studio here, a lot of times when you're working with graphics and different screens, different objects and things, it's really nice to have quick access to various tools or things that you use a lot. Now personally, when I'm formatting screens, I will often come into the Format tab and send things to the front, send things to the back, align things similar to that nature. And lately I've been working with screens that are high definition or 1920 by 1080, which often don't fit in the screen, and I'll often have to come in here and fit this to the entire window to see that. So since I do those so often, what I'm going to do here is modify this toolbar up in the upper corner. This is called the Quick Access Toolbar, and what I'm going to do here is show more commands. And now I know that when I have this Quick Access Toolbar up across the top here, that some of these icons, if I add too many more icons, then it'll create a kind of a sub-menu. Well, I just happen to know that I don't use this to open a project very often, nor do I use this to save all. I typically will use the drop-down on the file icon here. But what I do want to do is here in the Format menu, I want to use the Bring to Front, and I'll add that to the menu. And I want to send to the back, and I'll add that to the menu. Now you can add other commands. It doesn't have to be just these. And there's also a way to add keyboard shortcuts. For those power users who like keyboard shortcuts, you could do that too. Now the other thing that I like to do that I mentioned is on the View menu that Fit to Window, and I'll add that. I also know that I like to have this context-sensitive help, this little question mark icon at I always, for whatever reason, look at it to be on the end, so I'm going to move that down and have that available there. And now when I click on OK, you can see that I can very quickly come up here, move objects to the back, move objects to the front, and if I'm working on a large screen application, I can resize this and get the entire screen space from corner to corner on here for that particular resolution. So that's one of the quick tips that I like to show. Now, what I had an attendee this morning mention to me when I was talking about adding extra buttons in here. So for example, if the close menu, let's see, close all, let's say, was added here. Let me remove this one. Let's add the, let's see here. Let's just add, so I can't figure that one out. Let's go back here and add push to, let's see, send backward. We'll add that one, and there should be a bring forward. Here we go, bring forward. And what was mentioned to me earlier is that though I mentioned like this will create this extra drop down here, one of the things that was mentioned is if I drop this and show this below the ribbon, it will move this quick access bar below the ribbon, and then I will be able to get those extra buttons. It doesn't take up any more screen real estate because I still have this amount of space taken up. So that's another way that you can do that here. I'm going to go ahead and remove those and position that back up at the top because that's just where I'm more familiar with it until I get working with it another way. So, okay, so that's one quick tip. Let's go ahead and zoom this back in to 100% here. And the next thing on the agenda is working with bits that are packed into an integer word, let's say. So there's a couple of different ways to do that. And the first thing that I want to show you is here in the help system by using tag properties. And let me pull the help system in. That came up off screen here. There are a whole host of tag properties. In addition to the actual value of a tag, there's quite a few properties associated with the tag as well. For example, here's one, timestamp. That will show you the last time and date down to the millisecond that the tag changed. We can have the units in here, the display value, the display units. All these go hand in hand if you want to automatically do scaling on a tag. But here's what I wanted to show you. The bit 0 or B0 through bit 31 can display any of the value or bits from an integer tag. And the syntax for this is tag name minus greater than and then the property. And the key here is this minus greater than. That points to the actual property. And so what I'm going to do is move this off the screen. And we're going to start simply by showing just a lamp for an individual bit. Now if I want to make a quick lamp, I might do a circle and have a color change on this and have that, we'll call this bit tag because I don't have that assigned to anything yet. And when I hit enter, it's going to prompt me to create that. And I'm just going to make this a Boolean to go ahead and get started. And now I need a way to toggle this. So I'm going to put here on the screen a button, and we'll call this toggle bit tag, and then I'm going to apply the command animation to this, and then we will use this toggle tag. Because I don't want to type that again, I'm going to go ahead and just pull it from my object finder, and now that will toggle the tag called bit tag. And then now I have this colors here associated with bit tag. When it's off, it'll be red. When it's on, it'll be green. And let's go ahead and save this screen. I'm just going to save this as main. And so I don't accidentally show everybody a gray screen, I'm going to set this as a startup so that it starts up when we start the project. All right. So let's get this running here, and you can see that when I press this, it writes a 1, and that turns on, and that then toggles it and turns it back off. Now I'm going to make this a little bit fancy here by just adding a couple of quick objects and do a couple of things that are on my list. The first thing is, let's say I want to be able to show the value built right into this button. Well, there's a couple of different ways that I can do this. I have this tag called bit tag, and what I'm going to do is copy this, and I'm going to go back to the button. Now here in the caption field of the button, what I can do is I can display the value of that tag just by putting it inside of curly brackets. So here I'm going to put curly bracket, my tag name, which I copied earlier, close curly bracket. And this is probably the most simple thing that I can do, and this will just show us the on or off value of that tag. So there you can see that it's off, there you can see that it's on. Let's get a little bit more fancy, because in addition to the tag value, we can also put InduSoft built-in scripting language commands in here. So what I'm going to do is put an if statement, if, and then open parenthesis, bit tag. So if the bit tag is on, and the syntax for the if statement is if the condition, comma, then the true state, and then the false state. So comma, then we'll show the word on if it's true, comma, then if it's off, we'll show the word off. Close that parenthesis. So for those of you who can't see this, depending on the resolution, that's open curly bracket, if, and then open parenthesis, the name of the tag, in this case it's bit tag, comma, the word on, enclosed in double quotes, comma, the word off, enclosed in double quotes, close the parenthesis to close the if statement, and then close the curly bracket. Now, what we should get when we run this is not simply just the value, but the word off or on. So in this way, I can build the value of that in and show that without putting a piece of text on top of the button and try to synchronize all that. So that's often that when I show that to people, they go, "Wow, we didn't know you could do that." So that's one of the reasons I'm putting it here in the tips and tricks. So now let's make this little circle here a little bit more cosmetically pleasing. If we take a look at just this lamp by itself, that's just a circle that's changing colors, and it's not all that pleasing to the eye. So let's enhance this a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this down to 40 pixels, and then I'm going to go into the properties of this and change the ellipse, and I'm going to get rid of the outline around it. And then what I'm going to do is add 2 new circles on the screen. Now I happen to change this to 40 pixels. Let's go back up here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a circle, an ellipse that's about 60 pixels. And boy, I got pretty close there. So I'm going to go 60 pixels here. I'm going to remove the line on that. And now I'm going to change the color of this. Now this, what I'm about to show you is mainly for PCs, not for embedded or CE runtimes. And really where this stems from is here under Project, under Viewer, I am working with Enable Enhanced Graphics. Now, we added this a few versions ago, and this allows us to do anti-aliasing. It smooths out some of the diagonal lines or curved lines. And in addition to that, very shortly here, some of the things I'll show you, we're going to be working with saved pictures in separate files. So both of those are checked in my project. So let's go back into this circle here, and by doing this, now I can change the fill effects, and I can change this, which is a gradient, and I can change this start color to black, the end color to white, and I use this one here sometimes if I want to draw pipes or three-dimensional tanks, let's say. But for this circle here, I'm going to make this diagonal up, and I'm going to choose the variant that is a light up in the upper left-hand corner. It kind of shows you where the maybe light source is coming from. And then so that gives me a gradient fill down from that upper corner. I'm going to then hold my control key down and copy that, and then go in and just kind of flip that gradient around and choose this other variant that's dark up in the upper corner. And then I'm going to make that, instead of 60 pixels, I'm just going to make that inset a little bit and make this one 50 pixels. Now, I should end up with a 60 pixel, a 50 pixel, and a 40 pixel circle, and this top circle is the one that's changing colors. So now what I can do is use my format and align tools here and align those to the center, align to the middle, and since the circle is the first one that that bottom circle is the first one that I drew, it's actually ended up behind here. So let me use my quick access toolbar and push that to the front, and then go back in and realign those. So it's aligned to the center, aligned to the middle. And just so most people get an understanding, maybe I want to change the default color of that ellipse to green so that it appears like it's doing something there. All right, so very quickly, just adding a couple of circles behind that lamp type circle. We've created kind of a 3D beveled lamp. And we can even take that a step further and make the lamp itself kind of appear 3D by changing the fill effect or the gradient. So here I'm going to choose a light green and a dark green from center, choose this variant, And then on the red, I'll choose Fill Effects, and I'll go from light red to a dark red, also from the center, choose this variant. And now when I run this, what we can see is it almost looks like a little LED there. So nice looking lamp just created out of 3 little circles, and depending on the shading and how you do that. So that answers the first couple of tips and tricks that I wanted to cover. Now what I want to do is kind of propagate this yet again. Actually, a question that we had come in from one of the attendees today is how can I use bits in a word to get at the states for, let's say, for individual bits in an integer? Well, what I can do is I can copy this down here. What I did is I selected around multiple, all of those 3 objects, and then I held down my control key and copied it. And now what I can do is, before I copy that, let's do this. Let's go ahead and in here, let's take a look at a new tag called status tag. So that tag status is not yet in the system. So when I create this, I'm going to create it as an integer. So it's not just an individual bit, it's 32 bits. And now I could be pulling that from a PLC or getting it from sensors or wherever the case may be. But instead of looking at status as a whole word there, that doesn't make sense if I'm trying to determine an on and off condition. I'm going to use that syntax that I showed you in the help just a second ago. And let me pull that in just for a reference here. So that syntax is the tag name minus greater than and then the name of the property. Well, the property that I'm going to use is bit 0, bit 1, bit 2, so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and build that in here. And so what I'm going to do is minus greater than B0. And the reason I deleted that copy that I made is now that I have that configured, I can go ahead and copy this, and now it's already got all that configuration in it, and I just simply have to change that 0 into a 1. Now, I'll watch this. For those of you who are not very familiar with InduSoft Web Studio, I don't have to close my properties. In fact, I can pin it here if I want to, but it doesn't necessarily close automatically until I tell it to close. But here I'm going to configure this bit to be B2, and then again, I'm not going to close that properties box. I'm just going to move over to this one and change it to B3. So if I walk down these here, I have B0, bit 1, bit 2, and bit 3. So I think that's enough to show the concept of what I want to show. And then let's go ahead and put the value of status here so I can input that if I want to. And what I'm going to do, put just a few pound signs in there, and then I'll go ahead and apply the text data link animation to that and tie that to my status tag. Again, notice that the icon there is representing an integer. It's not individual bits, and then I'll give myself a way to input that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this down and take this the next step further. I'm going to turn off the input enabled on the second one and show this in a binary format. So now I've got the bits that will correspond to the same bits as these lights, and then I have the integer value there as well. Let me double check just to make sure, because I often miss checking that as an input. I do have that. And now let's go ahead and run this. And so now you can see all those bits are off. And if I set this to a 1, the first bit will come on. You can see the binary display there matches that. If I set this to a 2, that'll go to the second light and turn off the first one. And for those of you who know binary very well, if you put in a 3, the first 2 lights will light up. And I can walk this all the way down. I can put a 4 down there. If I put a 7 in, the first 3 lights should show up, and 8 will go to the next one, and so on and so forth. And I think I can put in 15 or 16 and have 15 and have all the lights come on. So I could continue on. I'm not going to do all 32 bits, but that's how you can set that up to monitor individual bits. So let's see. I had a question come in about resetting a bit inside of a linked symbol. I'm not sure exactly what the question is, but I'm going to go ahead and build a link symbol here in just a little bit, and maybe what I do will answer that question. I'll do a couple of different things, and I think it'll probably answer the type of question that you're looking at. One more thing to talk about, if you want to show the hint on any object, a tooltip, and this hint field will show, maybe I can type in here status. And even though this is going to another tag called bit tag, you'll get the idea. Now this goes hand in hand with, in the viewer settings here, I have to have enable tooltips. When I have enable tooltips and I have a hint in this hint field, what will happen is when I cursor over that, so I'm just moving my mouse over that, you should be able to see that tooltip pops up and says status in there. So we can take this a step further, and inside of curly brackets, I can use, oops, not square brackets, curly brackets. I can use that same property type syntax, status, and then minus, greater than, hint, and then close curly brackets. Now what this is using is, oops, that's, let's see, what did I do here? Let me come back into this. It didn't like that for whatever reason. Why didn't it like that? Minus, greater than, hint. Let's take a look. Let me cut this and go back into here. I didn't cut it out of there. So what I'm planning or trying to do is put the, oh, it's not hint, it's the name. I want the name of the tag in there. So my fault, but notice that this is a convenience mechanism. It prompted me and says, hey, you're doing something wrong. Rather than us wiping out all of the text in there, do you want us to comment it out? So it commented it by putting 2 slashes in there, and then it gives me the ability to edit this without losing all of my text. So that's just a nice feature. So here's, I wanted name, not hint. And now what I can do when I run this project is I can mouse over this and it'll show me that status. It'll automatically, so I don't have to put the name of that tag or what it's doing in there. Now, in another case, and what I did in this morning's webinar is I actually built an if function in here, so that let's say that in here I put if parenthesis, and then I have maybe a tag called show tag. And then when show tag is on, I want to show the name of the tag. In this case, it's bit tag. And in this, if it's not on, then I want to show the something else. In this case, maybe status is here. And then close that if statement up. So now, based on a tag, show tag, I now have the ability to toggle whether I see the name of the tag or the hint that you want to pop up. And since show tag doesn't exist, I'm going to go ahead and create that. I'm going to then give myself a way to toggle this, and this will be show tag. And below here, I'm not going to go ahead and put the words in there, but I'll just put show tag so that you can see the value of it in there. And now, when we run this, I don't think I put a toggle in there, so let's go back in and do that. Let's see. So now I need to put the command in here and toggle this, and that is a tag called show tag. So now maybe this button would be on a secure, behind a password protected screen, and if you've got a maintenance person that says, hey, that light's not working, it's tied to, I'm not sure what tag it's tied to, or I'm not even sure what light it is. What they can do is they can go into that secure screen, turn on the show tag, let's say, and now you can see the tag, bit tag, there in my tooltip. And when I turn that off, which might be its default state, when I mouse over it, now it shows the hint instead. So you have the ability to determine what shows up there in the hint field because we can put the formulas in there. So that's a tip that I wanted to show you. Let's see. One of the next ones is adding words to buttons or on light. So I did the words on the button. I did the on and off. And so let's add this to maybe a lamp. Let's take this next step here, and let's do the same kind of thing that we did with this lamp, but instead I'm going to put just a circle here, and go in and I'll make sure that that's in fact a circle. It is. And now I'm going to change its color. So here under the Graphics tab, Animations, maybe I want it to be red when it's off and green when it's on, and we'll use that same bit tag since I already have a button there. Now, there is no caption field on a circle or on an ellipse. So what can I do here? I have a couple of different things that I can do. I can put a rectangle, and for those of you who don't know, I build a lot of the symbols for our symbol of the week. And if you don't know about that, that's on our website. In fact, let me go ahead and open that up here and show this to you. Let's go to the InduSoft page. That's off screen, so I'll bring that here on screen in just a second here. So if I bring this in, what happened here? Here we go. Bring this in here. So I'm on the InduSoft home page, and if we go to our blog, is one way we can get to this here in the corporate blog, or to the free add-ons in the store, you'll be able to see that here we have quite a few. And let's see, I'm not sure why I can't expand that. There we go. We have quite a few symbol of the week that we've been adding, and I've been trying to do one a week. So we've got some gauges, some LED meters here, some wind turbine, wind direction indicators, some statuses, an I/O faceplate, so on and so forth. And you can see different, lots of different symbols that we've been adding here. Here's an andon symbol set. And for example, on this one, we actually have a video that I'm able to build an entire andon production monitoring system in less than 15 minutes. So for those of you who didn't know about that, that's something I do in my spare time here. But the whole reason I wanted to bring this up is quite often there'll be times where I want displays that maybe have multiple lines of text or want them a little bit differently formatted than what I can get with just a standard text object here. So what I'll do is I'll put a rectangle over an object, and I'll remove the border, and I'll remove the fill. And then now in the caption field, what I can do is I can put that same, in fact, let me just go steal this from this button object here, this same format here, and put this in this rectangle in the caption field, and that will show if the bit tag is on, it'll show the word on. If not, it'll show the word off. And I'll increase the font here, maybe to, let's go up to 28-point font, and say OK. And now when this runs, what you should see, let's go ahead and run this, is I should see that lamp change either green or red and get off or on in there. So that's one way that I can do that. Now I've had to add an extra object there. Now I have had some people request, okay, I want the words to be a little bit more subdued and maybe be transparent behind that circle. So what we can do is we can move this circle to the front. Again, I have that on my quick access toolbar now. And now one of the things we've had within InduSoft Web Studio for a little while is on the position and visibility animation, this used to be show on condition, where it would only allow a Boolean in here. But now we allow a fractional number less than 1. And if it's less than 1, let's say it's 0.5, now it's going to be 50% transparent. And now what I should be able to do is I should be able to see that with that word in there a little bit more subdued or transparent behind there. Well, let's say that you wanted a way to see text in this type of message here, in this type of text, but you wanted to be able to change. Let me go back to the way that it was. In fact, let me just copy this here and remove that visibility on this particular one. And then I'll push this to the front. And so let's go back to this one here and say, okay, now the word off there, you know what, I'm not sure if that WebEx panel is in your way, so let me move this a little bit down here. Now when I run this, the word off is black on red, and that's a little bit hard to see. If you don't know this, about 10% of men are colorblind and less than 1% of women are colorblind, but so you have to account for that. That's why I put sometimes words on lights so that we can see the status other than with just colors. In fact, it is a trend in developing HMI screens to not show color or maybe have grayscale until there is a condition that needs attention. So for example, like this lamp here, instead of making it off for red and green for on, you might just shut it down completely, make it black when it's off and then green when it's on. So something like this. So it's either on or it's not on. So without a legend on the screen, you might not know if does red mean on or does red mean off. So this way you can kind of very easily tell, especially with words, if it's on or off. Now, what I was trying to get to before is I don't like the black text on a red background, so I want to be able to change that font on the fly, or that color on the fly. Well, the way I've done this here with this rectangle is the color for the font is not changeable during runtime. So how can we do that? What I'm going to do is show you a way that you can do that. I'm going to take this, move this off of this object, and now what I'm going to use is a smart message to be able to do this. Now the smart message typically will show you text, and it's very often to show statuses of is my air pressure on, is my coolant on, and my hydraulic pumps on, so on and so forth. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this just a step further here, and I'm going to use this read tag expression, and I'm going to go ahead and put that bit in there, that bit tag, and then I'm going to use the messages to be able to change my font color. In this case, line 0 is going to be off, and line 1 will be on. And then what I'll do is the word off, when it was black on the red background, was a little bit difficult to see. So what I'm going to do is make that white, and I'll make that on a red background. And then in addition to the text, there's also a rectangle that surrounds it. So I'm going to make that rectangle have red background on it as well. So then I'm going to hide the border around it. So let's see. We'll do that, and let me bump up this font here. I don't remember what I did on the other one, so let's just do 26-point font. So now, let me go back into messages here, make sure that I've got everything. I've got, I didn't do the, okay, so green will be black text on a green background, and change that background here. And so now when I run this, you can see the word off is in white text, and then on is in black text on green. So that's a way that you can get it to dynamically change the color of the font without adding additional objects on there. So let's see. I had a question come in which I don't quite understand. It says, have you created the BD before the presentation? I'm not sure what BD is. If somebody's got, if you can rephrase that or spell that out, that might help me. So let's go ahead and move on, and I'll answer that if I get some clarification coming in. So that is transparency on lights, words on buttons. Okay, so here's one: how to choose foreground and background colors. So let's say that you have a logo, and in this case what I've done is I've opened up the InduSoft logo into Microsoft Paint. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this, and then I'm going to copy this and move this off screen, copy that into my clipboard, and now down here I can paste that. And now you can see that I have the InduSoft logo, and it happens to have a white rectangle around it. And for those of you who don't know, what I'm going to do is change the transparent color via this little tracker handle. This extra little handle here appears, and now I can choose with that, I can choose which color in that image, a single color, is transparent. So I'm just going to put it right here on the white, and now you can see that you can kind of see through that object, and that white color has gone, become transparent. Now another thing to notice, for those of you who have used InduSoft Web Studio for a while, we've recently, the last few versions or so, altered the way that this works. If I would have done this before, this bitmap, I would have pasted it, and it would have pasted it as a bitmap. Now, here under Project, when you create a new project, and it leaves your existing projects alone, but if you create a new project, it has now enabled this Save Pictures in Separate Files. And what this has done is this has actually brought this in now as a linked picture, and it gives me the path to this picture. And what it's done is it's put it in the Web Resources folder of my project. And it's done one additional step. It's taken every single bit, I'm assuming it's every single bit, but it's taken the checksum of all the colors and bits in that picture and presented that as the file name .bmp. And now by doing this, what it can do is if I make a copy of this on the screen, it references that same bitmap in the Web Resources folder. So for example here, I'm not going to try to remember that, but this ends in FD42, and if I go back to this other bitmap here, it ends in FD42. So if you have icons or maybe multiple wind turbines, or maybe you're doing a prison application, you have doors, and you have an image that's the same image over and over again, rather than creating multiple copies, it shows you that, but it still references the one individual image, and that makes it much more higher performance and easier. Also, another thing to note, if you have a large icon or large picture, don't necessarily just grab it and scale it, because it still retains its full size or full memory usage. So it's better to scale it before you bring it in, and that will improve the performance. So, question that I had was, have I created the database before the presentation? I'm assuming that the tags database, maybe, is that what you're asking? No, I'm creating this as a brand new application, and I've just created those 3 tags for now. So I'm creating that as I go, and I have not created that. Now, if you're asking about an external, like a SQL database, in this project I'm not going to tie to a SQL database. All right, if the question is something else, please let me know that. All right, so the whole reason why I put a picture in here is how to choose foreground and background colors. So let's say that I wanted to put something over this logo that matched this kind of medium green. Well, how can I match that color? So for example, let's lay down a rectangle here, and I'm going to remove the border. And now how can I get this to match that green color? Well, we have here in this drop-down, in fact, let me move this up so everybody can see it. We have this drop-down, we have Edit Custom Colors, and I can add custom colors, I can remove, I can export and import if you want to share them with coworkers, but you can see here is the custom colors that I've created through various projects that I've done and whatnot. And if I want to add a custom color here, and maybe you want to match a logo, and that's sometimes real important for companies to make sure that you match their color schemes. I can choose a color, let's say, and I can maybe try to get close, but that's not going to get close. I can also use this eyedropper here, and then not only choose objects within InduSoft Web Studio, but I can also choose color from a graphic as well. So here I've chosen that kind of medium green, and now it's set that to that color, and you can see that it matches perfectly. Now, if you've got patterns or dithering, where you maybe have some kind of pattern on there, maybe you have to pay attention to which pixel you're actually grabbing, but you can see here that it matches that color perfectly, so that's one way to do that. Now let's take another step forward here, and as I mentioned before, color blindness is often something you need to pay attention to. And if I take a look at this this particular piece of text, it's black text, and I'm going to copy this down here, and I'm going to change this to white. And then what I'll do is maybe I'll make another copy that's, I don't know, maybe yellow. And in doing so, what I'm trying to show you here is a helpful scenario of how can I pick colors that are very contrasty, that I can see from a good distance, and maybe not affecting somebody that is in fact colorblind. I'm going to then put a rectangle over this. You may end up with what I'm trying to do here is the background color of the screen. If I change the entire background color of the screen, what color should I change it to? But by doing this with a rectangle first, and I'm going to use my icons up here to push this to the back, I can quickly adjust this color and see if this is readable. Now, what I'm going to do is apply a color animation to this. And normally in the color animation, you put a limit expression in here, and then you choose which colors based on limits that you want. But by changing this to by color, I can put in a decimal representation of the red, the green, and the blue in here, and that adds up often to a very large decimal number. But we also have a built-in scripting feature that allows you to separate those colors. So here I'm going to use that built-in scripting feature. It's called RGB for red, green, blue color. And then inside of the parentheses, I'm going to put some new tags: red, comma, green, comma, blue. And because I don't have those tags, when I hit enter, it's going to prompt me for those. Red doesn't exist. I'm going to make that an integer. Green doesn't exist. Oops, accidentally flipped back into my runtime here. Let me get back to my development. Green doesn't exist. Make that an integer. And blue doesn't exist. Make that also an integer. So now I have those 3 tags. Now those values for those colors will be between 0 and 255. So now I need a way to enter those, change those colors. So let's do this. Below this, let's go ahead and add symbols from our symbol library. And what I'm going to do is pick a slider. And I'm just going to choose slider 1. Now this, by default, this shows 3 digits and a percentage. What I'm doing is not a percentage, but rather than removing that character, I figured I'd just explain it. So here, red, and now, before copying this, I'm going to configure this and change this to allow a number between 0 and 255. So now when I copy this, it's already set up to a maximum of 255, and I just have to change this tag to blue. And you can see that I'm already having troubles typing and talking at the same time. So instead of doing that, what I'll do is I'll pick this from the list. So there's red, green, and blue, and you know what? I have them in a different order, so let's just swap these so it's more like RGB for red, green, and blue. And now when I have those, let's go back into this color animation. I'm setting that color there, and now what we should be able to do is run this. And now you can see that all of those are off or 0, and if I bring up the red, I can bring it to full red. I can bring up the green, and I can bring up the blue, and then I can now start to mix. So what is so back to elementary school, what does red and blue make? Well, that makes purple. That's a little bit bright. Let's say if I want a little bit darker purple. Some things to note here. Maybe I want to see, oh look, the black text goes away. Imagine that on black, and the yellow text goes away when you get, and I'm not sure what pattern, what combination makes yellow here. Let's try red and, oh, I don't remember what makes yellow, but you get the idea. So now this way you can mix and try to find the exact color that you think is easiest for everybody to see. So just a little note here, if you set them all approximately at the same level, you're going to get a lighter or darker shade of gray. So here's a lighter color shade of gray, and if I move them all roughly to 50%, you're going to have kind of a medium shade of gray, and I can make it a charcoal gray if I move them all down a little bit lower. So you can, again, you can mix and match, and by altering those, I think that's a combination of 16 million colors that you can get in there, and then say, okay, that's the color that I want. There I can set my RGB colors to that, and then choose your background color maybe on the screen. So that's one way to do that. All right, back to the PowerPoint here. Okay, using PowerPoint to create graphics, and this is something kind of neat. Again, going back to the symbols that I've created, a lot of times I'll create meters or gauges or graphs, and to make the needle, what I might do is just use an individual line that I change to maybe a red color and change the thickness of it. So that's one way to do that, but that's not very cosmetically pleasing. Sometimes I'll also use a closed polygon, but sometimes it's a little difficult to get everything exactly lined up the way that you want it to and colored the way that you want it to. And even with a little bit of fiddling, it seems like it's not an easy task to do. So one of the things that I recommend, and now this is a recommendation if you have a relatively high horsepower PC, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of graphics. If you're going to be doing one or two of these, it's not that big of a deal. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get out of my slideshow view of PowerPoint and get into the editor. Now what I'm going to do is use the shapes and the editor within PowerPoint to be able to create some bitmaps that I can bring in, or some graphics. Now here's the isosceles triangle. Now the isosceles triangle always keeps equal sides, so if I'm trying to make the needle for a meter here, it ends up being a perfect triangle. And then I can come in here and I can change the fill color, let's say to red. I can remove the outline, so I'll change that outline. But here's kind of the best part. I can go in and change the shape effects, and I can get a beveled edge on this. And now what I can do is I can copy this from PowerPoint and put that right into InduSoft Web Studio. I can see that rectangle around the outside edge there. I can make that transparent like I did before using that tracker, and get rid of that. And so now I have kind of the perfect needle for a meter. Something to be aware of is that when you do this, and let's say that I go ahead and turn that transparent, notice that there's a little bit of white that bounds this and it extends beyond that. If you set up the rotational point to the very bottom of this, it might be offset a little bit from where you want it. So it's really handy and nice thing to do. If you haven't seen the training videos, one of the things that I did in the training videos is I move this in the upper left-hand corner so that upper left is at 0, 0, and then I deselect or don't select any objects on the screen, and I move my cursor around. Let's see, it's for whatever reason it's hidden at the bottom of the screen, so let's bring this up in here. I move my cursor around on the screen, so down here in the status bar you can actually see the value of my cursor wherever it is. Oh, I know what's going on, my graphic is in the way there. So now I can move my cursor and say, okay, that's the exact point that I want to put into my rotation animation here. And if I click on this, what I would do is to set that to top left. That's that upper corner reference point. But then here I would set my offset down to that middle point down here and use that I got from my status bar. So that's a real nice way to do that. So that's a nice way to create some graphics or some meter needles. But before I continue on, what I want to do is show you some other alternatives to this. So one thing that I like to do is use maybe the arrow. And here what I can do is I can change the size of the arrow head and change the width of this. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and change that to this red color. I'll do the same thing and remove the outline. But now I'll also bevel this here a little bit and copy that and go back into InduSoft Web Studio. Let me grab this. It's off screen here. Let's see. And paste this in, and now you can see you can make that as the needle of a meter, and that would be, I think, real nice and real attractive for that. So now, before I continue on with that, I want to talk about creating a little bit nicer looking meters, very similar to what I did here around this button. Take that another step further and just go here, and I'll make this ellipse. I'll get rid of the line, and I'll change its fill effects to being a dark and light, and this variant here, and I'll copy this, and then I'll reduce its size a little bit. So here in the format, I'll change this from let's go ahead and make this one the same size, so it's a 321, and on this one I'll go ahead and make this 311, so make that 10 pixels less. And then I'll change the variant of the fill effect and do that. And then what I'll do is I'll make a third one, and in this case it's just going to be white. In fact, let's take this another step further here. What I'll do is I'll choose this kind of medium gray and have it gradient out from the center to give us a kind of a shadowed. And this one will make 300 pixels. And now if I align the three of these, format, let's see, we'll do the alignment, align center, align middle. You can see that it creates a very nice beveled edge there for the meter. And maybe I would set this up to be transparent. And now we could maybe rotate that around. So that's a way to quickly make some really nice looking needles for meters. Let's go on and talk about a little bit more that we can do with PowerPoint. And here's the question. If hopefully I'm answering the question inside of the link symbol that I got earlier. I'm going to take and make a button out of this, or a lamp, let's say. The first thing that I want to do is maybe have a base for this. I'm going to choose this octagon shape here, and that allows me to draw kind of a perfect octagon. And we'll go ahead and change the shape color of this to kind of a medium gray. I'll remove the outline, and then here's where the nice things come in. I'll change the bevel on this to be, let's choose this one here. And then I'll place a circle on top of that. And now what I'll do is I'll change that to kind of a green color, let's say. And there's a green. I'll remove that outline. And then what we'll do is we'll add that bevel onto there. And what I like is this one down here, this kind of Art Deco. Now hopefully you can see that that kind of raised that edge up a little bit. If you can't, what I'm going to do is right-click on this, go to Format Shape, and now what I can do is here in this 3D format, let me move this out of the way, we can add a little bit more width to this thing, so I can make that appear a little bit wider there, shallower there, I should say. And then I'll add a little bit of height to that. And even offset this a little bit more, I'm going to change the material of this thing and make this dark edge so that really stands out there. So now what I'm going to do is copy this off to the side, and I'm going to go ahead and change the shape effects from that bevel. What I'm going to do is go ahead and change it to this particular bevel. Which one do I want here? Let's make this one. So now I have that bevel, so it looks like it's pressed in, this one. And now what I can do is I can copy these graphics independently into InduSoft Web Studio. And what I'm going to do is remove that background there. I'll go back to PowerPoint. I'll grab the depressed look. I'll copy that into my clipboard. And then I'll remove that transparent color there. And then lastly, what I'll do is I'll grab this one and paste this in here, also removing the background. And then what I'll do is I will layer those, or align those all here. All right. So now what I'm going to end up with is this button, and when you press it, it'll show that. Well, the way that I want this to work is I'm going to start off with this as a toggle, or at least I did that earlier in the morning webinar. But I think the question that the person had for resetting the bit might be on maybe a momentary type, and let's see how we can make that work. Because this background, this kind of beveled outline here is going to be visible, I'm going to actually put the command animation on that. So I'm going to put the command on here. And now what I could do is if I wanted to toggle it, I could choose toggle tag. And if I want to make this a momentary, there's a couple of different ways that I could do this. I could, using the built-in scripting language, I could set the tag to 1 on down, and on up, set it to 0. Alternatively, I can set the tag, and in here we'll just use that same tag that we had before, that bit tag. Actually, let's not do that. Let's turn this into a symbol. So instead of doing that, I'm going to use the symbol syntax. And if you haven't seen the symbol webinar or the training video, I encourage you to watch that. The syntax for this is going to be #, the name of the, I can't type while I'm talking, the name of the property, and a colon, and then the name of the default value. In this case, I'm not going to have a default value, so I'm going to set that tag. In this case, it's the custom property that I'm defining. When I press this down, and then on up, I'm going to change this to reset tag, and I'm going to use that same naming convention. So it has to be the exact same. If I have a default value here, but I don't have it here, it's going to treat that differently. So that will allow that to change that tag to, it's going to set it to 1 on down, release it on up, and then I'm going to put this back here in the middle, and I'm not going to do anything with that. What I'm going to do is just show or hide this top one. So here I'm going to apply the visibility animation to just that top object, and here I'm going to put that same naming convention, but now when I want this to show when the button is off, so I have to put when it's equal to 0. And now what I can do is window around this whole thing, all of those objects, right-click and create that linked symbol. And here what I'm going to do is make a folder within my project called Buttons, and go into that. And then it might be nice if you're making symbols to come up with a convention. This will be button, green, momentary, and maybe I'm going to have multiple of these, so I'm going to name this number 1. So now within this, I now have that tag name that I can then go ahead and put that tag in there, that bit tag. And now what should happen when I run this is I should be able to press that, and that writes a 1. I should be able to release it, and it resets that bit. So there was the question that came in on the chat panel of how to get it to reset. Hopefully that answers that question. And we also did one of the things that I wanted to show, which was making some really nice graphics in using PowerPoint. And again, that really depends on the horsepower of your PC that you're running the runtime on. So let's go ahead and continue on. Let's go back into my PowerPoint and relaunch the running of the PowerPoint here, and go back up. So I've got beveled meters. Okay. Another thing is, let's say that you wanted to group items using some rectangles. So what I've often found is that creating text, maybe I have some set points or some values for a tank, let's say. Let's say this is going to be the temperature. And I'm going to have some values in here, and then I'm going to copy this, and maybe I would also have the pressure, and maybe I would also have the level. And so those are all related to the tank. Well, it's nice having those on the screen, but they're kind of free floating out here in white space. To kind of segment them a little bit more, what I often like to do is I'll put a rectangle around this and push this to the back here. And then what I'm going to do is use this border style. I'm going to first use raised, and then I'm going to change it to kind of a medium gray. And you can see it makes that kind of 3D beveled edge around there. And then I'm going to copy this and reduce its size so it's just inside of the other one, and I can adjust those sizes here in a second. And then I'm going to change this one from raised to sunken, and now I'm going to push both of those to the back. And so now that kind of sets that off, and probably align this a little bit better here. And it kind of groups that a little bit nicely with just two little rectangles. And one other thing that I can do to enhance this a little bit is adjust these rectangles. Maybe I'll give myself a little bit of space here with this back one. And I'll add a caption field. So maybe this is tank information. And what I'll do is I'll change the alignment of this font. Instead of being in the middle of the object, I'll make it on the top left of the object. So now it appears up here. And again, with just two simple rectangles, I've made that a little bit more appealing, a little bit easier to understand that those three values are all related to the tank. So hopefully that's something nice to show you there. And let's see, moving along, smart message to change the font color grouping. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save this screen, and I'm going to create a brand new screen here and talk a little bit about trends for a second. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a trend on the screen, and I'm going to tie this to a tag that I don't think I've created yet called temperature. So let's go ahead and I did not make temperature yet. I'm going to make that an integer type tag, so I'll just hit OK. And sorry about that. Go back into my development environment here and go to 0 and 100 for the scale. And now by default it's going to show me the line, but I could go into this style here and add a fill. I can add a solid color below that, and let's maybe put a green color at 50% transparency here. So now if I put a slider on the screen, let's say, to adjust temperature here. Now when I run this, in fact, let me save this as trend. Let me close my main screen here and run this. So now when I change my value here, you can see the highlight under the pen. Well, I want to take this another step further here, and what I've done before I started this video, I actually created some graphics. Now let me go into my project here, and I've got a lot of windows open off screen here. Let's go into this, and what I've done before the webinar is I've created 3 graphics. I created a grid that's just 36 pixels square that's a light blue and white. I have a light green and dark green, and then I have kind of this gradient green to yellow to red. So let's go ahead and build those into this, and I can choose that here under the points, same place that I chose that color. Instead of choosing the color here, what I'll do is I'll choose the custom pattern, and then I'll choose my graphic file, and that's here in my project folder. I just showed you these. Now I had a question come up earlier, what formats can we choose there? At this time it's bitmap only. So let's do the light green on dark green, and it says that it's not in the web folder, so it might not be viewable on web thin clients. Do you want to continue? Just as a gentle reminder, I'm going to say OK. And when I say OK, what that will do is that will put that pattern at that 50% fill, but maybe I want to show that at solid, so I'll change that to 0% transparent. And so now when I show this, I get that nice little grid under the curve. And you can see that it, even though that was only 36 pixels, what happens is it tiles it for me. So I can get a nice little grid there, and I might change my color schemes to make that look like an old-fashioned oscilloscope or whatever the case may be. And I did another one that's the kind of graph paper style. For those of you who are engineers and maybe like graph paper, we'll try that one here. So I'll change to that cyan. That little gentle warning message there again, and when we go ahead and run this, now we get kind of that graph paper look underneath it. So that can help you understand the readings in addition to the cursor. When I click on that, I can get the cursor value out of that. So that's something nice here. And since we're doing temperature, I'm going to take this one step further and choose that gradient, that green to yellow to red gradient that I had. And here that is. And now when I choose this, you can see that it's got that full color. Because it's trying to tile it, if I make it larger than the graphic, it's going to spill back over from the top. So what I'm going to do is kind of reduce this back to enough that it just shows one instance of that graphic, tall anyway. And now when I run this, what's really nice, especially since this is temperature, if I'm in a good range, I'm going to show green. If I move up into a little bit warmer range, I'll show yellow. And if I move all the way up into the top, maybe I'll get up into red. So that's a way that you can use that fill with a custom pattern below the trend line in an application. So that's one of the tips that I wanted to show you. And let's go back in here and let's see. Setting defaults for new objects. For example, let's go back to this main screen here. I've been drawing objects like, for example, this rectangle and this circle, and our default colors are this kind of medium blue outline with a light blue fill color. But let's say that you want something that's a little bit different than that. And I copy this down, and maybe I change this to a black line with green, and maybe the weight of the line is a little bit larger. Once I have this, I can right-click and set as default for new objects. So now, whenever I draw a new rectangle, I can just draw that, and it draws it in that color instead of the previous color. the original default, I should say. Be forewarned, one of the reasons why I started off with this one is because that's in the default. There is no way to set it back to the default unless you've drawn an object already on the screen. You can right-click on that and set that one as the default, putting it thus back to the way that it was. And this works including with text inside of the object as well. So for example, the caption field, this is text. And if I make that the default, if I put a brand new rectangle on the screen, it has that text in it as well. So that can save you some time in editing as well. All right, moving along, using the scheduler for simulation. A lot of times if you're going to want to rotate the needle of a meter, or maybe you've got a wind turbine, or you're showing something that's moving, even if it's just during development, but you want to show it rather than putting a slider on the screen and messing up your graphics, maybe you want to show how something can rotate. So here I'm going to turn on the rotation. I'm going to set this to a tag. We'll call it rotate. And I don't have that tag yet, so I'm going to create that as an integer. And I'm going to say, okay, this is going to go between a value of 0 and 100, which I'll set up in a minute. And I want that to go from negative 90 degrees to positive 90 degrees, which will start on the left-hand side and go over to the right-hand side. Or maybe I want that to go all 360, so you could do that either way. But here I'm going to have it rotate around the center. And now I need a way to change the value of rotate. I could write a script to do that, or I can use the scheduler here and insert. Now this event field, I can choose a calendar, a clock, or a tag change trigger. In this case, I'm going to leave this as clock. I don't need the trigger field. In fact, I can't put anything in there. And in the time field, this is the rate of change, or the period. In this case, I'm going to do no hours, no minutes, no seconds, and then I have the ability to go down to the number of hundreds of milliseconds, or tenths of a second. So here I'm going to do 0.1 in there, and the tag that I'm going to write to is rotate. And now I want an expression that's going to basically count from 0 to 100 and then start back over. How can I do that? I can do that with an if statement, and I'm going to say if rotate is less than 100, which means it'll be at 99, then I want to add one more to it. And if it's over 100 or at 100, then what I'm going to do is reset that back to 0. So if then else gives me, if it's less than 100, add one more to it. If it's at 100 or above, then go ahead and reset that back to 0. And then whatever that evaluates to, dump that result back into the tag called rotate. So I can use this to do some simulation, and then maybe before I deploy my project, I can just go ahead and type a 1 in here to disable that, and that will stop that from working, and I can keep that in my project. And maybe what I'd want to do is put a comment in here with // and this is a comment, and leave yourself some good notes behind. Trust me, I've had that work to my advantage over the years. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. Maybe you want to label this as simulation. And we'll go ahead and save that. And now when I run this screen, we can see that, let's see, why am I not rotating here? When you create a new scheduler worksheet, you actually have to stop the project and rerun it. There we go. So now I'm counting up every tenth of a second, and we should see that when it gets over to 90 degrees, it would flip right back to over to the minus 90 degree sign. Boom, there we go. So there's a way you can simulate some things and keep things going. I do want to show a couple more quick things. I apologize for going over, and I apologize for talking so fast. I wanted to show a lot of things in here, but one of the things that I did want to show is, let's take, for example, these bits here, let's say, and maybe I need to do this with a symbol, so let's grab a symbol out of the library. Let's go and grab a pilot light, and I'm going to grab this red-green pilot light. And normally a symbol will let you put in an individual tag. In this case, I'm going to put in that, I've already forgotten what it is, that tag called bit tag. And by putting that in, we should be able to run this and see Let's see if I change this. There we go. So it's green. It's red now. I let it go. It's green. Now, if I wanted to put in, let's say, a second tag in here, if I wanted to say and bit tag 2, which I don't have yet, it won't let me do that. But if I wrap this all in parentheses, so now I have bit tag and bit tag 2, it'll take that. And now it prompts me that bit tag 2 doesn't exist. I'll go ahead and make that a Boolean. And now what I'll do is I'll come down here. So now I've got that one button. I'll make this button tied to bit tag 2. And let's see, I don't know how I'm going to do this because those are both momentaries. Let's see, maybe I'll take a look at status. I'm going to try something new here. I'll take a look at the status tag and look at that individual B0. So let's see if I can build that in here. I'm not sure if this will work, but we'll give this a try. All right, so now when I run this, in order to get that lamp to come on, I can toggle bit tag. I can set a 1 in my status, and that lamp doesn't come on until both of them are on, and it looks like that does work. So I can do an AND condition inside of the symbol, which until just a couple of days ago I didn't know that you could do. You can do logic in here, you can do OR, you can do AND, and I'm not sure exactly. Again, I just figured this out, or just found this out. Somebody told me about this just a couple of days ago, so I haven't had a chance to find out more about it, but it's a real nice way that you don't have to actually break open a symbol and redesign the symbol just to get it to work with more than one condition. So that's really all I wanted to show you for the various tips and tricks. I do want to make you aware that we have some great web resources. We've got our blog, we've got our forum that users can answer other users' questions, and we've got these recorded webinars that we do every other week. In fact, we've been doing this now for 3 years. We've been doing this for almost exactly 3 years, and every other week. So we've got a huge library of videos built up, and each one of those is about an hour. So feel free to go take a look at those on our website or on our YouTube channel. And we also have our entire training class online as videos. I showed you that I've been doing the symbol of the week. We've been doing those. We have case studies, and we have great sample applications. So with that, let's see. I don't see any new questions coming in, so ran a little bit long. Apologize for that, but hopefully this was really good information for you. Again, I'd like to show you how you can contact InduSoft, but we have some new numbers available. If you're doing licensing between the hours of 8:30 and 5:30 Central Time, you can get a hold of us via these numbers and for support as well, Monday through Friday, and any other ways that we've had previously, so you can get a hold of us. So I'd like to thank everybody for attending today, and great questions that have come in, and hopefully you learned something and got some new ideas of how you can improve your development, improve what your projects look like, and speed up your development a little bit. And I'd like to thank everybody. Fill out the survey when we send it to you. Let us know how we're doing on the webinars. Send us your symbol ideas. Send us your shirt size, and we'll send you a free T-shirt. And with that, I'd like to end the webinar and say thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time, and everybody have a great day. Thanks.